So we're anticipating clear skies coming, just a reminder about the green laser pointer rules. For most of you, you may have already taken the exam. I think we may have some people who want to take it today. I have it here if you do. But just as a reminder, because most of you took the exam before the holiday season, you may have maybe forgotten one or two of the requirements. So just to remind you, Transport Canada have issued a prohibition order. Nobody's allowed to use green laser pointers, with the exception that you can apply for an authority to do that. And RASC have done that on our behalf. But for us to be able to do it, we have to fulfill a number of requirements. The first one is you must pass the exam. And to do that, you need to come and see me. I'll give you the exam. We'll go through the questions, and any you get wrong, we'll maybe review them and make sure you understand the right one. That's the first requirement. Second requirement, you must have been a member of RASC for 2 years, continuous. So if you haven't, then you're going to have to wait. We're not going to check up on that, that's up to you. I can't come and look at your history of have you been RASC for 2 years or not, but
that's it.
I guess.
I mean, it's not us who gets, I mean, it's not the club.
The club won't get, it's the individual.
Who gets dinged.
Yeah.
And it's pretty serious.
Yeah. Up to $100,000 fine and potential imprisonment for illegal use. So that's the second thing which you need to monitor. The third thing is that before you're going to go and use it, you need to give notice to the executive, Steve and others. Anybody remember how much notice you need to give? 8 hours minimum. So if you want to go out like this evening, you should have already done that already to give notice. You then have to fulfill certain requirements, like you cannot be within a 10-kilometer zone of an airport. So you need to look where you're going to observe, and that needs to be passed on to the executive in terms of where you're going to be. You have to check up beforehand that it's not in that zone, any prohibited zones, because no laser pointers can be used within a 10-kilometer radius of an airport. You must also pass on the information of not only where you're going to be, ideally it could be GPS position, because then we can check that it's in the right position, who is going to be there, what time, and it's not just a certified one person who's got the laser pointer. You need at least one spotter for the use of it. So you can have multiple people with green laser pointers, but there must be an individual who's designated not to be using a green laser pointer, whose pure job it is anytime somebody is going to be using one, is not looking through a telescope, is not talking to people, is looking in the sky, identifying if there's any aircraft, and informing people to stop using them if they see one. So you need to fulfill those requirements. You need to then have documentation on you. 4 bits of documentation. First one is you need a copy of your membership card. You can download that from the RASC website. So you go on the RASC website, there's a link to download your current membership card, and you can get that. You need a copy of that with you. The second thing, which we're going to look to do, is get some cards printed that will state that you have passed the exam. So everybody who's passed the exam, we're going to get some cards made that says, you have on this date passed the exam. You have to retake it every 3 years, so it will have an expiry date. You need also a copy of the RASC insurance. Now, I've been on the website, I couldn't find that. So if anybody knows how to obtain that, that would be great if we can
do it through me. So
Jim's going to get a copy, and we'll get multiple copies printed off, and then everyone will get a copy. The fourth thing you need is, and I only had a chance to print off one of these, is also on the RASC website, is the authorization given to RASC. So this is a note from Transport Canada. I will get some extra ones printed off, but guess what? You can get this off the website yourself. You just go on there and search for it under green laser pointer authorization, and there's a 3-page letter that gives you the permission. So you must have all of those criteria fulfilled to be able to do it. So hopefully you all remember. Yes. So that means that then you can go and to an event and use it, provided you've given the information. At the end, you are still required to do something, is provide the executive a report of the event, which is, did you go and use them? At what time? What location? How many people were there? This is going to be important information because, you know what, this is a lot of work. And Transport Canada would love it if it doesn't get used. If RASC, which they are obliged to at the end of every year, is provide Transport Canada with a list of every time that it has been used. If they see very minimal use, they're going to go, it's not worth it, we're just stopping it entirely. So it's up to us to have good use and demonstrate the purpose of them. They've been used for education purposes for it to continue. If we don't do that, they'll just stop it. It's effort for us to authorize this.
I've got some. Just whenever we do a public event, I do a report and send it to RASC. So just email me the details of the what you were doing, and I'll put it in the normal format to send it in. And if you miss anything, I'll email you some questions. And so it's just simple. Just always default back to me, and I'll sort that out.
So Tess, what are the 4 things you need to have with you at the event? First one? Insurance. Membership.
Insurance.
The certificate that you passed the exam and proof of training certificate and the letter. Okay. That would help.
Yeah,
You don't need that.
And because you're redoing everything again, can you restate what, I guess, the recommended protocol is if we're at an event and there's a person in the public that's using their own?
So the protocol that we should put in place, because part of passing the exam is to demonstrate that you're a good, educated person about using it and being able to educate other people. If somebody is in an event who is using one who is not a RASC member, or maybe is a RASC member, who maybe even has passed the exam but has not been put on as the one of the named person for using it on that night, just comes along and starts pointing as well, you have to tell them to stop. Particularly, this is not going to be a problem, I think, in our group. If somebody goes, reminds them, yeah, they'll stop using it. But if a member of the public turns up with a green laser pointer and starts using it, we should approach them, tell them they're against the law. This is for any incident, whether it's inside a 10-kilometre zone where nobody's using them anyway, or we're using them, they see we're using them, and they go, oh, it must be fine to use them. We have to tell them to stop. We warn them that it is a criminal offence, it's got a big fine, it can be prison. If they still don't do it, 2 things we're going to do. One thing for sure, we're going to shut down our event. We are not going to hold responsible for somebody breaking the law. And we'll inform them. If they continue to use it, we will inform the authorities, because that is the responsible thing to do. Okay? We have to be firm on it.
It's that, or we don't use it.
Exactly.
I guess the other thing you need is a spotter.
Sorry, yeah, there was the paperwork. The spotter, we always have to have at least 1 spotter. And depending on the event, it maybe is a big event. So if we've got, we used to do on Waterloo Park. Unfortunately, can't do that now because it's inside the 10-kilometre zone. But big events like that, if we're doing a big event, and maybe there's going to be multiple people with green laser pointers in groups. If it's a big event, you can't have 1 spotter trying to shout across a whole group to say stop using them because there's an aircraft. So then you're going to have more than 1 spotter. But you need a minimum of 1 for the use.
They have to be certified. So.
They have to be certified. Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask.
Oh, yeah.
It has to be a certified.
So if you're not on this list, you can't act as either of those 2 things. So I have now about 30 people certified. If you want to be certified, please come and see me in the break.
Maximum one.
5 hours.
5.
You didn't. Do you want to retake the? Anybody is a good point because it was before the holiday. If you're not sure, I am going to send out the presentation material again. I think Jim sent it out to the whole group. Now that the email system's working again, I'm going to send out to the whole of the group the full presentation again, so you've got the information. But yeah, it's 5.
You send out that Transport Canada sheet too.
I just did a print off. I don't know if I can. I should be able to download it as well.
All right.
One of the things I noticed when I read the actual legislation or the rules that they were talking about, it doesn't just apply to green lasers, it applies to any laser.
Any bright light object.
Any bright light.
Exactly.
This would include some of those, like the Phoenix flashlights.
It would, yes.
Just
So,
to let-
in that litigation era, is there anything, like, I don't have any documentation, but I have one on me right now. Like, is there anything in there about transportation? Is there any kind of?
There's nothing prohibiting you carrying one. It's if you start using it. Yeah.
You can't point it at the sky.
Yeah. You can't point it at anything. Yeah. Just don't use it. Unless you're at an event and you've given 8 hours notice and been. And so just to remind as well. So we're going to be using a silences approval notification. So I think, Steve, you're going to be working out with the executive of if you're taking the responsibility for a weekend or somebody else. You'll send the note out to the executive to say, I want permission to use it, this is the location. They'll do the check on, yeah, you're on the certification list, it's in a good zone. If everything's good, you won't hear anything. If you hear an email that says no, then don't do it. So silence is acceptance.
Just on insurance, it takes about 5 working days to get an insurance form for a location or an event. So if you're going to go out and do something somewhere, just email me the appropriate information. I'll get the insurance. I'll do I'll start the report. I might as well do all the checks on whatever is required and do the post-action report. So I'll just follow it right through and make sure it's all done. Just one thing, I was talking to Brian at KW Telescope, and he said that Health Canada, the friendly people from Health Canada were coming around saying, give us all your green lasers and we'll give you a tax write-off for them. And so somebody's out there pretending to be serious, or looking at least to score some promotion points or something. So yeah, when a bureaucracy gets this in their brain and they think they can get promoted by getting some of us, it's witch hunt central or something.
Okay, exam at the back if you want to,
Yep.
if you need to take
See
it.
Simon if you want to write the exam. Yeah, I remember being out at Jerry's observatory a few weeks ago, and Jerry says, what's the maximum you can have? I said, 5 milliwatts. And he said, well, I can't read the fine print on this laser, right? And bloody things like a small flash thing, right? It's even got a key on the end to turn it on, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm looking at this, doing one of these, trying to read this fine. 200 milliwatts. So don't use Jerry's.
Jerry's declared
We're
war
not
on
supposed to
the
set
plans.
fire to the planes, Jerry. Anyway,